Welcome to the I Ask e-learning program for the English final exams. My name is Ágnes Lepold. I'm a teacher at the Jurisich Miklós Secondary Grammar School here in Kőszeg, and I'm going to help you to prepare for the English final exams. This is one of the memes that one of my students made, so I really appreciate that you're here with us on YouTube and you're watching this video and preparing for the final exams with us. So we are going to prepare for the speaking exams at O level and A level. O level means középszint in Hungarian. A level means emelt szint in Hungarian. So please watch out which level you are preparing for and practice with us. But also, I'm going to help you with some of the writing exam tasks. So you will find a lot of practice ideas here in the video and also on the website. So, on the website, for example, you will find this picture, and I will give you tips for the writing exam and also some online help. How are you doing in your online classes? Here's another meme that one of my students made. Actually, there's a spelling mistake because until is spelled with only one L, but I didn't want to censor it because it's made by one of my students. But actually, they are enjoying online learning. I hope you do too. Today, we are going to talk about school. Let's see what sort of exam questions are there at the O-level exam. There's an interview, there is role play, a situational role play, and also a picture-based talk. So these are the three types of tasks that you will get at the exam. At A-level, there's also an interview, but instead of the situational role play exercise, there's a debate when you've got to give reasons why you agree or disagree with a statement. And there's also a picture-based talk where you've got to talk on your own about the topics suggested by the pictures. Now let's see what topics are involved at O level in this big topic of school. Your school, special courses at your school, subjects and your interests, the timetable you've got, your studies, learning languages and its importance, extracurricular activities. What are these? Extracurricular activities means that beside lessons, your school probably has some other activities like a drama club or other clubs or other activities that you can join. They are at the school but not exactly the same as learning. Okay, what are the traditions at your school? Now let's see some more topics involved at A level, because you've got to be able to talk about the previous topics, of course, at a higher level of English, but you should be able to talk about the education system in Hungary, also the education system in other countries. And when you talk about your school and education, I've prepared a list of expressions for you that you could use, so let's see how to talk about these. I study at secondary grammar school or a technical school or a vocational school. I'm a secondary school student. I'm in year 11 or I'm in grade 11 of high school. I'm a first year university student. Or I'm in my final year. I'll graduate this June. I'm in the second year. I have 2 more years to go. I'm studying for, I'm doing, so these are expressions that you could use when you say what kind of courses you are taking. So for example, I'm studying for my final exam A levels, or I'm doing an intensive English course. I want to improve my English because I'm studying to become whatever, a psychologist, a doctor, an engineer. I'm hoping to get my qualifications or certificate. So what kind of qualifications or certificates are you hoping to get at the end of your studies? So for example, I'm hoping to get my GCSE qualifications in June 2021. Or you can say other certificates as well, for example, about language exams. So I'm hoping to get my German language exam certificate at B2 next year. Okay, when you talk about subjects, you can say, I like it, but I don't really like it because I have to do this or that in this subject. It's quite interesting because, or to be honest, it's a bit boring because, and you can tell your reasons, I find it quite hard or easy or anything else. So, let's see some questions that you could get at A level about learning languages. For example, why is learning foreign languages useful? What are the difficulties? What do you think? Is it easier to learn a language if you are also interested in the culture of the people who speak it? What are some useful techniques to learn a foreign language? Do you find memorizing or communication more useful, and why? What are your feelings about making mistakes? So these are some of the questions and topics and sentence types that you can use at the interview. Now I'm going to talk to one of my students, Annette, who is preparing for the O-level exams, and we are going to demonstrate the O-level interview for this topic. All right, Annette, so let's talk about your school. Can you tell me a few things about it?
Of course. I go to Jurisich Miklós High School, where I go to an English class where I study English in a higher class number.
So it's an intensive course, right?
Yes.
Okay.
It's a 5-year class as well, and I'm in my 4th year.
Right. What are your... Yes?
Sorry?
Okay, just go on.
I really like the school because I have a lot of friends and I can talk to anyone because all of the children are really nice and kind. They're helpful as well, and the teachers are really kind as well. They help when we need to have some help in homework or anything else.
Right. And what facilities are there at your school? For example, do you have a library or any other facilities?
We have a library with a lot of books that we can take out, and I think it's a really good thing because if we have a class that there is no teacher, then we can go there and have some time there, study or something like that. We have a room where we have our school parties and something like that when we have the time, or and we have a gym room as well where there are weights we can lift, and where we do our strength workout. And we have a room where there are ping pong tables as well, table tennis.
Are there any outdoor sports facilities as well?
Yes, there is a football court and a basketball court.
Right, okay, all right. And what are your study plans for the future?
I would really like to become either a psychologist or a doctor. that's my dream since I was 3, and I really like helping people. That's why I choose those things. But it depends on how many points I can.
How many points you can get at the
Yes.
final exams? Right. Okay. What subjects do you have to study hard for this purpose?
For psychology, I have to study literature in a higher intensive course, and biology as well.
And why did you choose English for an intensive course?
Because I really like English. I have a lot of friends in America that I can speak to. I prefer watching movies in English, and it's easier to watch it in the mother language that is the movie in, because otherwise I have to wait a lot of time to watch it on my own language that I speak.
And
So,
sometimes they are not translated at all.
yes,
Right.
or the translation is very bad
Yeah.
sometimes.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, thank you very much, Annette. So this was the first part of the exam. Now let's go on to the second part. At O level, it's a situational role play. For example, you want to do a 2-week English language course in Britain. You ask your teacher about courses he or she recommends, and ask your teacher about the location, the accommodation, the costs, the hours of English lessons per week, the social activities for each of the courses he or she recommends. The examiner plays the role of your teacher. When a situational role play is given to you, there are some points in it, this list of what you should talk about. Don't forget to talk about each point, okay? Of course, the examiner will help you with his or her questions, trying to focus you if you forget something, but it's better if you ask for information about these. And now we are going to demonstrate a situational role play like this with my student, Annette. Okay, so let's act out the situational role play about these English courses. Okay, do you want to start?
Yes, of
Okay,
course.
so you can start when you're ready.
Okay. Excuse me, can I ask you a question about the 2 weeks language course?
Oh yes, of course. What would you like to know?
I would like to know that where the location would be for the course.
Yes, okay. There are 2 courses I can recommend you. One of them is in the center of Oxford, and the other one is a little bit outside town. The first one is called Oxford English School, and the other one is called Oxford English Centre.
Okay. And if I choose the one which is in the center, then where could I have my accommodation?
You can choose between staying with a family or staying at the student hostel. At the family, you can get 2 meals a day, and in the student hostel, you can be independent and cook for yourself.
Okay, that's great. In 1 week, how many English lessons would I have?
Oh, well, as far as I know, there would be 5 English lessons in the morning, and there would be some free time activities in the evening, which could be considered as some optional English lessons as well. Okay, anything else you would like to know?
What would be the cost for it?
Oh, yes, an important question. The one in the center is a little bit more expensive than the other one. It costs 600 euros for a week. The one a little bit outside the center costs 400 euros a week. Accommodation is not included. You must pay for the accommodation separately.
Yeah, I can understand that. And what kind of social activities would be there?
First of all, I think both courses would include some excursions in the city and some in the countryside. Also, there would be some cultural nights too during the week, and the cultural nights and the excursions are included in the price, and there would be some other opportunities for other socializing or entertaining events which you can pay for, like dancing in the evening or going to the theater, things like that. All organized by the school, but you must pay for those. Okay, anything else you would like to know?
I think these are all the questions that I would like to ask.
Okay, so when you've made up your mind about it, just let me know and we will help you organize it.
Okay, thank you very much for your help.
Thank you. Okay, so let's revise what sort of expressions you could use when you have a situation like this, when you've got to ask for information. Excuse me, can I ask you something? Can I or could I ask you about something? I have a few questions. Can you tell me, or could you tell me, where exactly? What kind of? What sort of? How much? How many hours? I see. Thank you. So, when you act out a dialogue like this, you must pay attention to be polite. So use polite expressions, okay? And also, you must make sure that you are grammatically correct as much as you can in speaking. Of course, it's not always easy, but try to pay attention to your grammar as well. It shouldn't slow down the interaction, of course. So there shouldn't be very long pauses just because you are thinking of grammar. But if you practice in advance, if you practice a lot, then correct grammar will be easier for you. So maybe you could record what you would say in a situation like this, and then listen, correct yourself, record again, and so on. Now, these are some expressions that you could use in writing as well. I'd like to give you some tips for writing informal and formal letters as well. In the final exam writing part, you often have to write a letter in which you ask for information. You could use the same expressions as for this situation before. On the website, you will see a picture like this with these colored numbers, and at each number you will find an exercise. So, for example, if you go to the yellow part, this will give you some information about writing. Then you go to the green part. This is going to be another topic in writing, and you go along the numbers, and this will help you to learn how to do this part of the exam. There are also O-level tasks and A-level tasks included, and at the star there's a grammar point included. Okay. So this is the link to the website where you can find this page. And for example, in a letter asking for information about courses, you could use this site for help. It will help you with the layout of the letter, the structure of the letter, with the expressions that you could use. There will be some examples, some tasks that you could practice. And also, as I've mentioned, there's some help with the grammar. This time, with letters asking for information, I think indirect questions is an important grammar point. So please go to the website and practice with us. And now, let's go on to the third part of the exam at O-level, which is a picture-based talk. You get some pictures. Look at them carefully, and here's the task. Look at the pictures and talk about different school subjects, including the following points. Why you like them, why you don't like them, what difficulties there are, what makes them enjoyable or interesting. Now, my student and I are going to demonstrate it, but because this is a picture-based talk, here you've got to talk on your own. So the examiner has just very little part in this. Maybe at the end he or she will ask you some questions. But if you can talk about this topic for a long time, then no problem, maybe you won't get any questions at all. So, let's see. All right, so can you tell me about these pictures which are about school subjects?
Yes, so the first picture we can see that it's a chemistry class. And I think it's a little bit harder class than the others because we have to learn all the formulas for the calculations that we have to make. But it is an interesting class as well when we do the experiments, such as we did the silver mirror trial once in our class, and it was beautiful and exciting experience. The next picture is gym class, I think. And it's a little bit hard if you don't like to take your free time to do some workouts, because there are a lot of things that we do in this class, such as shot put and discus throw. But there is a little bit easier task as well that we do, such as gymnastics or the strength workout.
Okay, how about the third?
The third picture is drawing class, which I think it's a good class to relax our minds and take some time for ourselves. For example, when I draw either in class or at home, I listen to my music and take my time, try to draw what I want, and after a long day, it's a good thing to relax my mind. The next picture is about math class. It is harder if the teacher can't really help, but I think if a child pays attention in class and tries to understand what the teacher teaches, then I think it's a little bit easier. Like in chemistry, we have the formulas as well and the calculations. And in our school, there is a book that helps us when we have the test and when we will have our finals. It's called Table Functions, and it has all the formulas that we need to use when we have our work.
And do you like maths?
I like math. I like to take my time and figure out how to solve one question.
Right.
But sometimes it's annoying as well because I can't really get the solution.
Right. Yeah, of course that happens. Yeah. Okay, thank you very much. So now let's go on to the A-level exam, part 2, which is a debate. Let's see some debate statements about the topic of school. Parents should be encouraged to educate their children at home instead of sending them to primary school. Brighter and weaker students should be educated together in mixed ability classes. Girls and boys in secondary schools should be educated separately. Now, in this type of exercise, you've got to decide whether you are for or against the statement. That means whether you agree or disagree with the statement, and you must have a debate with the examiner who will argue for the opposite side. So if you agree, the examiner will disagree with the statement, and you've got to give reasons why you think so, You can give examples, of course. As I told you in earlier videos, first you must respond to what the other person has said, then say why you agree or disagree, especially you will disagree. Give your reasons, give examples, and then ask back. So always be polite. You can practice this by practicing the expressions for the debate. We have seen many expressions in earlier videos, so please watch those videos as well. And also you can practice this type of exam task by writing down a few arguments for as well as against the statement. So for example, this is the statement that you want to practice. Brighter and weaker students should be educated together in mixed ability classes. So in your notes, you could collect reasons why you agree with this or why you would disagree with this. I want you to practice both sides, because in this way you can see which is the side for which you can collect more reasons, more arguments, okay? Because maybe at the exam you should choose the side for which you can bring up more arguments, more reasons or examples, okay? Sometimes as an examiner, I have to talk about the side which I absolutely don't agree with, but I must give some reasons for that. And as a student, I recommend that you do the same. Practice the other side as well. So for example, if you agree with this, you can say that students shouldn't be separated on the basis of ability because they have the right to be educated with weaker and stronger students so that they can see what it means to be a strong student, what it means to be a weaker student. So in this way, they can decide where they are with their abilities. Another argument for this statement could be that students learn how to cooperate, how to help each other if they are educated together in mixed ability classes. A third argument could be that in real life, people who you work with do not have the same abilities. So that's why you must get used to working with people of different abilities. Okay, now let's see the other side. It's good to collect at least 3 or 4 arguments for both sides. So if you don't agree with this statement, what could you say? You could say that if weaker and stronger students are educated together, then the weaker students would need more time, so that would slow down the learning process for the stronger students as well, who could learn faster. Another argument could be, at the same time, the pace could be too fast for the weaker students. They might not be able to follow the pace of the stronger students. Or a third argument could be that when weaker students are separated, then the teacher can deal with their problems and they can set a goal, so how far they want to improve, and it would be easier to achieve this goal if the abilities of the students are more or less the same. And at the same time, with stronger students, you can set higher goals, and it will be easier to achieve this goal if the stronger students are together, because you don't have to deal with problems which are actually obvious for the stronger students. They will have different problems. They would have higher level problems which you can deal with if they are separated. And of course, you can give examples. An example could be a great argument for both sides. So for example, if you have ever been in a mixed ability class, or if you have ever been in a class where only weaker or only stronger students studied, then you can give an example. For example, about agreeing this statement that there should be mixed ability classes. For example, at primary school and at secondary school, the classes I went to were mixed ability classes, and we could get on well with each other. The stronger students helped the weaker students. There was no problem doing this. Or another example. At secondary school, I opted for A-level maths, so I studied with students who have the same ability as mine. And we could solve advanced problems, we could deal with maths at a faster pace than the weaker students, and this gave me the chance to get good grades at the A-level exams in maths at the end of my studies. Okay, so when you've got this list of arguments and examples on both sides, then you can also model a dialogue. Or you can go to our website where you will find practice options, where you can tell your opinion and listen to the opinions of others, and you can practice the debate with them. Now, let's go on to some writing exercises, writing tasks that you might get in the exam. When you express your opinion in a debate, it's a little bit similar to some of the writing tasks that you can get in the final exams in English. And these are some expressions that you could use. For example, I think, I believe, in my opinion, as I see it, firstly, secondly, finally, when you list your arguments. On one hand, on the other hand. As far as I'm concerned. What I'm trying to say is, let me tell you what I think about this. For example, for instance, however, although, to sum it all up, in conclusion. So these are the expressions that you could use in writing, but also when you practice for the debate, you can use most of these examples, most of these expressions to practice how you would express your opinion in a debate task. If you go to the Facebook page, my Facebook page called Bridging the Gap, you will get some more practice options. Here's the address where you can go, or you can just search for it on Facebook, and I will give you some tips. Now let's go on to the picture-based talk at the A-level exam, which is the final task. Let's look at some of the pictures. And let's see the task. Look at the pictures and talk about different levels of education, including the following points: the differences between them, the different forms of teaching and learning. In previous videos, I have given you some expressions that you could use in the picture-based talk. The point is that you talk on your own. It's not as much an interactive task as the interview or the debate. You must be able to talk on your own for a couple of minutes. And maybe after that, the examiner will ask you a few questions, but not necessarily. The point is that you should talk on your own. What I would say about these pictures, about this topic suggested by the pictures, is the following. In the pictures, I can see different levels of education: kindergarten, university, and primary or secondary school. Obviously, at kindergarten, it's more or less all about playing. Of course, they learn a few things like basic numbers, or they learn nursery rhymes, songs, games, and they do some sports or outdoor games as well. The point is to get kids to a level after which they can go to school, and also to teach them some basic skills that will be very important in life. After kindergarten, they go on to primary school or elementary school, as it is called differently in some countries, where they will enter classrooms and they will learn first how to read and write, how to do some basic mathematics. They will learn some information about the environment. They will also do singing, some art and craft, and they will also have PE lessons, so sports lessons. The learning and teaching environment is quite different. In classrooms, they've got to sit quietly and work on the tasks. Of course, there are times when they can talk, but they learn some discipline. The teachers will tell them when they can talk. So it's not as free as a kindergarten environment. Also, at this level, there are some requirements, there are some standards that they should meet. So, for example, after the first 4 years, they should be able to read and write with confidence. They should be able to read and understand basic stories, for example, basic texts. Because this will prepare them for the next few years where they are going to study history, geography, biology, physics, chemistry, foreign languages, a lot of other things. So their education becomes more and more specified for some areas. At kindergarten, everything was kind of a holistic learning. At primary school, they learned the basic skills, and it was still very holistic. But after that, in higher primary school, so in Hungary it is from grade 5 to grade 8, they start to study separate subjects. After the 8th grade, they can go on to secondary school, where the teaching and learning methods are more or less the same, but because they are already teenagers and they can choose what they are more interested in, they can choose from different types of schools. For example, a secondary grammar school or a technical school, a vocational school. They can decide whether they want to study hard to get to university later, or they want to learn a trade, they want to get a special certificate in some kind of trade or any other qualifications. For example, they can learn to become cooks or mechanics. But of course, if they want to go on to university to become doctors and so on, they should enter a secondary grammar school. After that, they can go on to university, and at university, or especially in Hungary and in some Central European countries, university education is different from primary and secondary school. There are lectures. One that we can see in the picture is probably a lecture, where there's a lecturer, a presenter, who talks about topics. And there are so-called seminars, which are more practical lessons, where there are smaller groups of students and they can discuss problems, work out problems. And in many cases there are laboratory practice sessions where they've got to do some experiments, measure things, and so on and so on. At the end of their university studies, they can do state examinations and get their degree. I think studying at university requires a lot of studying on your own, a lot of research. It means that you must find a topic that you want to go into deeply, and research it and write papers. You should be able to do some academic writing at university, because at the end you will have to write your thesis. In some secondary schools, these skills are already taught. For example, how to do a presentation, how to do some research. But at university, this is a very important skill that people learn. So maybe that's all I would say about the pictures at first go, and after that the teacher might ask some questions, the examiner might ask some questions. All right, so let's do the fun part of it. One of my students sent me this meme. Let's see today's homework. Another meme challenge. Well, I've already started the meme challenge on my Facebook page. You can vote on the memes that there are, or you can send your own meme connected to some of the topics that we have been discussing. And when there's a group of memes, like 10 memes that I can post to the meme challenge, then I will post them to the site and people can vote on them with likes. But of course, once these albums are posted, you can still join and send your meme about the same topic. It's not a problem. The point is that you can get some fun while you are learning English. So join the meme challenge on the Facebook site that I have already recommended. Also, you can get some links here and some online help, how to do some more practice, how to get some more opportunities to practice for the exams, speaking and writing exams. Okay, here's the website. So on Facebook, please look for Bridging the Gap, Lepold Ágnes. That's where you will find it. Also, you can go on to my website with the e-learning site. My website is also called Bridging the Gap. And you will find speaking tasks and writing tasks. You can choose what you want to study, what you want to practice. This is the site. It's lepoldagnes.weebly.com/elearning.html. And then you can choose what you want to practice. Thank you very much for your attention. I keep my fingers crossed for you for the final exams.